The pet microchip listed my husband's coworker as second owner, and his mother said I was overreacting until the veterinary clinic asked which household should receive the emergency call. I found out my husband had built another household because our dog's microchip knew before I did. It happened at the vet's office, during what was supposed to be a simple visit for a limp. I was holding our dog's leash and trying not to panic. My husband stood beside me, and his mother had come along because he had called her from the car. The receptionist pulled up the file and asked us to confirm the microchip ownership details. She read my husband's name, then mine, then another woman's name, Rebecca. I knew the name immediately. She was his coworker, the woman he had mentioned for months as just someone from work. The receptionist was calm, not suspicious at all, which somehow made it worse. She looked at the screen and said Rebecca was listed as a second owner. I asked, "Second what?" My husband moved toward the counter too quickly. "That's probably old," he said. "Or a mistake. We can fix it later." The receptionist said she could update it now if needed. She just had to confirm the household contact preference. Household, that word landed before I fully understood it. I looked at my husband, waiting for confusion, for a laugh, for anything that sounded like innocence. Instead, his mother sighed beside me and whispered, "Don't start. This is not the place." I turned to her. "Don't start what?" She gave me the tight smile she used when she wanted to make me feel embarrassing. "You're upset about the dog. Don't make a scene over a form." But if it had been only a form, my husband would have been confused too. If it had been harmless, his mother would not already have a speech ready. I asked the receptionist to repeat exactly what the record said. My husband said my name under his breath, like a warning. The receptionist hesitated, then read that the microchip file had 2 owner contacts, 1 secondary owner contact, and a note about emergency calls. My husband forced a laugh. "See? Secondary. Emergency contact language." I asked why she had said owner. He did not answer. He only said we should deal with the appointment first. Then the receptionist looked at the screen again and asked, which household should receive the emergency call first? No one spoke. Not my husband, not his mother, not me. For the first time, the whole clinic felt still. Our dog leaned against my leg, trusting us completely, while a computer record quietly placed another woman inside the life I thought I shared with my husband. I looked at him and waited for the easy explanation. He said, "We should talk about this outside." The appointment still happened, because life keeps moving even when yours tilts sideways. The vet tech came with a clipboard. The dog still needed his leg checked. I still had to answer when the limp started, whether he had eaten, and whether he had been running strangely that morning. I answered because someone had to. My husband stared at his phone. His mother kept saying everyone was stressed and the dog needed us calm, as if I was the source of tension and not the record that had just put my husband's coworker in our household. The vet said it looked like a mild strain. I nodded through the instructions and thanked everyone like a normal person, because my body still knew the old rules of my marriage. Stay calm. Handle the practical thing first. Feel everything later. But while the vet talked, I kept thinking about the day we adopted him. My husband had found the rescue listing. I filled out the application. We brought the dog home on a rainy Saturday, and my husband kept one hand on the carrier the whole drive, like he was guarding something precious. That week, I sat at the kitchen table with the adoption folder open while he read the microchip number to me. We registered the dog together. His name, my name, one address, one household. There had been no Rebecca. For most of our marriage, I handled the dog's daily life. Food orders, medication reminders, vaccine dates, grooming, invoices, the extra leash in the hallway drawer. My husband loved the dog, but I carried the calendar. Then, during the last year, he started taking over the vet appointments. At first, I thought it was sweet. The clinic was near his office. He said he could stop by at lunch. When reminders came in, he would say, "I've got it." When I offered to go, he said it was already handled. I felt grateful, even guilty, because I was tired, and he seemed to be stepping up. Looking back, he never took over the ordinary care. He took over the parts I could not see: appointments, calls, records, updates. Rebecca entered our home that way, not as a threat, as advice. Rebecca recommended a harness. Rebecca knew calming treats. Rebecca had dogs. Rebecca knew a walking trail near his office. Every mention sounded practical enough that questioning it made me feel petty. Once I found treats in his car, and he said Rebecca's dog did not like them, so she gave them to him for ours. Another time our dog was wearing a blue harness I had not bought. He said Rebecca recommended it. When I asked why he had not told me, he said, "I didn't realize I needed permission to buy our dog a harness." That was the pattern. I noticed an edge of something. I asked one question. He made the question sound controlling. I backed away because I did not want to be the insecure wife his mother loved mocking. But at the clinic, all those small explanations lined up differently. Him taking over appointments, missing reminders, Rebecca's name attached to dog supplies, his mother acting annoyed instead of surprised. By the time we left, I was not ready to say affair. I was not ready to say second household. But I knew one thing. When we brought that dog home, there had been one household on his record. Somehow, without me knowing, my husband had made room for another one. When we got home, I did not explode. I carried the dog inside, helped him onto his bed, measured his medication, and filled his water bowl. My husband watched me like he was waiting for me to become angry enough to accuse. Anger would have helped him. If I yelled, he could call me unstable. If I cried in front of his mother, she could say I was making the dog's appointment about myself. So I stayed quiet longer than I wanted to. His mother followed us in without being invited, which was normal for her. She had a key, opinions about our furniture, our thermostat, our groceries, and apparently our dog's microchip. She stood by the kitchen island and said, "Now that everyone is calmer, can we not turn this into something ugly?" I said, "I'm not the one who added my husband's coworker to our dog's record." My husband rubbed his forehead. "I told you, I don't know why it said it that way, but you know why she was there." He exhaled like I was exhausting him. "She helped once. That's it." His mother jumped in immediately. "You should be grateful someone was willing to help when you were busy." "I didn't know I was busy," I said. Neither of them answered. If Rebecca had helped because I was unavailable, why had no one told me? If it was one practical favor, why was my mother-in-law not surprised? If it was harmless, why had my husband tried to stop the receptionist from reading the file? He said I was turning normal things into accusations. I asked if it had been a secret operation. He looked away and said I was being unfair. That was how Rebecca had always existed in my marriage, not as a person I could question, but as a test of whether I was fair. Then I remembered Sunday lunch at his mother's house, 2 months earlier. Our dog had been under the table in the blue harness. My husband was outside on a call. His mother looked down and said, almost casually, "Rebecca was right. He does look better in blue." I had frozen. "Rebecca has seen him in the blue harness?" She recovered quickly. "Oh, I think your husband showed her a picture." At the time, I let it go. It sounded insane to question my husband's mother about his coworker's opinion on our dog's harness. But now, in my kitchen, I understood why she had not been shocked at the clinic. Maybe she did not know everything. Maybe she had chosen not to, but she knew enough to defend it before asking a single question. I asked, "How long have you known Rebecca was involved with our dog?" "Involved is dramatic," she said. "She was a helpful coworker." My husband stepped in. "This is why I didn't tell you every little thing. You turn normal things into accusations." "Every little thing?" I said. "She is listed as second owner on our dog's microchip." He opened his mouth, then closed it. That silence mattered more than his excuses. Helpful coworkers do not become second owners by accident, and mothers-in-law do not prepare overreaction speeches for records they have never heard of before. My mother-in-law left 20 minutes later, but only after warning me not to let my imagination ruin my marriage. "My imagination didn't type Rebecca's name into the clinic record," I said. "She told me I kept saying Rebecca's name as if Rebecca had done something to me." My husband called from the living room, "Our dog." I turned toward him. That's what I thought. He came back with his phone in his hand and asked if we could stop doing this in front of his mom. That almost made me laugh. His mother had inserted herself into our mortgage, our visits, our food, our future children, and every conversation where I had ever been too sensitive. But now that his coworker was listed on our dog's record, privacy mattered. I told him to ask her to leave. Instead, he repeated that Rebecca had helped once. She had been near the clinic. I had been working. He had a meeting. It was not a big deal. I asked why she had been added as an owner. His mother said systems use strange words, and I was building a betrayal out of a label. "Then why weren't you surprised?" I asked. For the first time, she had no immediate answer. My husband changed the subject to my tone. I had asked questions in public. I should have waited. The receptionist had read it aloud, but somehow the embarrassment belonged to me. His mother said marriage required trust, and every administrative mistake could not become an interrogation. "What exactly is the mistake?" I asked. "The wording," my husband said. "The clinic wording. The whole thing." "So you'll remove her?" He paused. If Rebecca was a mistake, that should have been the easiest yes in the world. Instead, he said, "Let's not make decisions while you're emotional." I felt my face get hot. "I'm emotional because your coworker is on our dog's record. And I'm telling you, there's context." "Then give me the context." He looked away again. His mother softened her voice. Sometimes men don't share every logistical detail because they don't want conflict. You keep calling it little, I said, because calling it little protects him. My husband warned me to stop talking to his mother that way. That was the trap. If I answered, the subject became my disrespect. If I apologized, the subject became my tone. If I kept pushing, they would say I proved their point. So I stopped trying to convince them. I want Rebecca removed from the microchip and the clinic file, I said. And I want to know when she was added. He stared at me, then said, I'll look into it. Not I'll fix it. Not I'm sorry. I'll look into it. That was when I understood he was not trying to clear up a mistake. He was trying to manage it until I got tired or guilty enough to let it disappear. After his mother left, he stayed downstairs. I heard him opening cabinets, letting the dog out, and whispering near the back door. I did not follow him. For the first time, I did not want another explanation from his mouth. I wanted the record. So I opened my laptop and searched my email for the Microchip company. The Microchip company's emails were boring on purpose. Profile updated. Contact preferences changed. Registration confirmed. I sat at the kitchen table while my husband made normal noises downstairs, as if enough cabinet doors could prove nothing was wrong. I searched the dog's name, then the company name, and found the original registration from the week we adopted him. There we were. My name, his name, our address, our phone numbers. One household. I saved it before I knew why. Maybe some part of me already understood that proof disappears when people know you are looking. Then I found the update confirmation from 7 months earlier. The email did not show everything, but it showed enough. Contact information had been updated. A secondary owner field had been added. Emergency contact routing had been adjusted. A link led to the profile, but the login was now tied to my husband's email. 7 months earlier was not a random emergency. It was when work became intense. It was when vet reminders stopped coming to me. It was when he started saying appointments were already handled. It was when Rebecca became familiar enough that I stopped reacting because I did not want to seem insecure. I made a folder called Dog Records and saved the original registration, the update confirmation, and screenshots of the dates. I felt ridiculous documenting pet paperwork, but then I remembered his pause when I asked if he would remove her. If it was nothing, he would have fixed it. I checked my calendar. There had been a vet appointment that day, one he had handled during lunch. In our bank account, the clinic charge was there, paid from our joint account. The appointment happened. Our money paid for it. But the record was changed through access. I no longer controlled. That was the part that hurt differently. Our household remained responsible when payment was due, but when it came to information, authority, and emergency calls, I had been quietly moved aside. I found an old text from that day. How did the appointment go? I had asked. All good. I'll tell you later. He replied. There was no later. I had sent a heart reaction and moved on. When my husband came into the kitchen, I asked, when was Rebecca added? His face changed before he said, what? To the microchip record. I told you I'd look into it. I already did. The room went quiet in a new way. At the clinic, the silence had been shock. This was calculation. He asked if I had logged into his email. When I said no, I saw relief flash across his face. That relief made my stomach turn. I don't remember every admin thing I've done, he said. You remember adding your coworker as second owner. I didn't add her like that. How did you add her? He said she helped with an appointment, and the clinic needed someone to contact if he was unavailable. Why didn't they call me? I asked. He had no answer. I turned the laptop so he could see the 7-month-old update. He looked at it, then away. You're really going to do this? He said. I want her removed. Not tonight. Why not tonight? Because you're worked up. No, I said. Because if you remove her, you admit she should not have been there. He got angry then. He asked if I was seriously documenting this. Yes, I said. Because every time I ask you to explain it, the story changes. That was the first time I saw real panic under the anger. The record itself was not what scared him most. What scared him was that I had stopped letting him be the only person who got to interpret it. The next morning, my husband acted like documentation was the betrayal. He made coffee too loudly and moved through the kitchen like a man proving he was calm. I had barely slept. The dog was still sore, and every shift he made on his bed reminded me that this had begun as a simple medical visit. My husband asked, so what's the plan now? The same. Remove Rebecca from the record. He laughed without humor. You're saying that like it's a court order. I'm saying it like it's our dog. Our dog, he repeated. Exactly. I'm allowed to make decisions too. He was using shared ownership to defend a decision he had made alone. He was not explaining the record anymore. He was normalizing my exclusion. You added another woman? I said. She helped. She was available. You weren't. There it was. You weren't. He was not only saying Rebecca had helped, he was implying I had failed, and he had filled the gap with someone easier. I asked when I had been unavailable. He said I had been stressed. Work was busy, and every extra responsibility felt like a burden. That hurt, because there was enough truth in it to sharpen the lie. I had been tired. I had cried over messes and deadlines and not keeping up. But being tired was not an opening for another woman to be written into my household. Then he said, she cared. The room changed. A helpful coworker assists. A backup contact answers a call. But she cared was not logistical. It was emotional. His mother texted before I could answer. Please don't punish him because someone at a clinic used the wrong word. Marriage is bigger than pride. I asked if he had called her. He said she was worried. She's coordinating. I said, another message came. You are letting insecurity turn you cruel. A good wife does not humiliate her husband over a dog form. I took a screenshot. My husband saw it and snapped, are you screenshotting my mom now? Yes, I said. Last night you told me I was imagining context. This morning, she's giving me context. I told him I was calling the clinic. He went still. For what? To ask what the record actually says. I told you I'd handle it. No. You told me you'd look into it. His voice dropped. Do not drag those people into our marriage. A few hours earlier, this had supposedly been a clerical mistake, a pet form, a misunderstanding. Now the clinic was being dragged into our marriage because I wanted them to read back a record that meant nothing. By lunch, I called from my car in a grocery store parking lot. I gave my name, our dog's name, and asked what Rebecca was listed as. The receptionist was careful, kind, and neutral. She is listed as secondary owner contact, she said. There is also a household note attached to her information. A household note? Yes. It looks like there are 2 household contact options for emergency routing. I thanked her and asked if I could receive a written summary. She said she would note the request. When the call ended, I sat with my phone in my lap. I did not cry. I just felt cold and awake. My husband had spent a full day telling me I was turning a pet form into betrayal, but the clinic was telling me the form had already turned my marriage into 2 households. I did not go home right away. The clinic had not said affair or betrayal. They had said secondary owner contact, household note, emergency routing, dry words, infrastructure words. Words used when something has been organized and made functional. I called back and asked if I could get an account summary at the follow-up appointment. A vet tech told me they could provide a basic visit and contact summary to listed owners, though full microchip changes might go through the microchip company. I asked if I was still listed as an owner. Yes, she said. That should have comforted me. It did not. And Rebecca? She is listed as a secondary owner contact with a separate household note. Separate. When I went home, my husband was in the living room with the dog, scratching behind his ears like a responsible pet owner in a commercial. For 1 second, I hated how normal he looked. I said, they confirmed the household note. His hand stopped. You had no right to keep calling them. That was when something inside me snapped cleanly. Not loudly. He had skipped over the content completely. Not what household note. Not I can explain. Just, you had no right. I'm on the record. I said, this is our marriage. This is our dog's medical file. It's private. It stopped being private when your coworker got her own household note. His mother texted within minutes, saying I was harassing the clinic and becoming concerning. She was building a new version of me in real time. Not hurt wife, not dog owner, but a woman out of control. I took a screenshot. Then I asked my husband, does Rebecca know she is listed that way? He froze. It was small, but it was there. Don't bring her into this, he said. She's already in it. She's on the record. He looked away. That was enough for the moment. The follow-up appointment was the next afternoon. His mother showed up 15 minutes before we left, uninvited, claiming she wanted to check on the dog. I knew she had come to witness the record being managed. At the clinic, the receptionist pulled up the file. My husband moved closer to the counter. So did I. She asked if the Maple Ridge address was still the primary household. That was our address. Then she said there was a secondary household note attached to Rebecca's contact. My mother-in-law made a soft, irritated sound behind me. I asked, is she listed as an emergency contact or an owner? The receptionist answered, secondary owner contact. My husband said, that's just how the system words it. The receptionist nodded uncertainly. Some labels can be confusing, but the household routing is separate. Separate from the label. The owner contact field was one thing, the emergency routing note was another. For urgent calls, they had to know which household should be contacted first. My husband said, call me. The receptionist asked, for which household? No one moved. If Rebecca was just a backup contact, the question made no sense. If this was only a strange label, the question made no sense. My husband did not say there was no other household. He did not ask to remove the note. He said, "Can we not do this right now?" I asked for a printed or emailed summary of the contact fields. My husband said, "Don't." I did not look at him. "I'm listed. I would like the summary." The printer behind the counter made a low, ordinary sound. The paper came out with our address. My name, my husband's name, Rebecca's name, secondary owner contact, separate household note, and emergency routing preference not confirmed. It was not every lie. It was enough. I folded it and put it in my purse. My husband said, "We are leaving." "No," I said. "The dog still has his appointment." For the first time in months, he was not deciding what counted as real. The record was, the follow-up took less than 20 minutes. The vet said the strain was mild, the dog was healing well, and we should keep him from jumping for a few more days. My husband barely spoke. His mother asked enough caring questions to sound like the concerned one in public. I stood there with the folded paper in my purse, feeling its edge every time I moved. When we reached the parking lot, my husband said, "We need to talk at home. We can talk here." I said. His mother looked around. "Absolutely not. This is humiliating." Humiliating, not heartbreaking, not wrong. Humiliating, because someone outside the family had heard the truth. My husband unlocked the car and told me to get in. I did not move. "No," I said. "I'm not riding home with both of you, so you can spend the drive telling me I misunderstood what a receptionist just printed." His mother called me disrespectful. My husband said I was making it worse. "You made it worse when you added her and hid it," I said. "You made it worse when you called it a mistake, refused to remove her, and let your mother defend it before I even understood it." He said Rebecca had helped him during a hard time. "A hard time in our marriage?" I asked. He looked away. His mother rushed in with a speech about bad seasons, as if seasons create separate household notes. I stopped listening. I touched the folded paper in my purse, but did not pull it out. I did not need to perform the proof for them anymore. I called a rideshare and stood near the curb with the dog. My husband told me I was childish. His mother said I was creating a scene. When the car arrived, I took the dog with me. At home, I packed a small bag, clothes, charger, laptop, the printed summary, the dog's medication, food, and leash. I called my sister and asked if I could stay a few nights. She heard my voice and said yes before I explained. My husband came home before I left. Without his mother beside him, he looked smaller. "So this is it?" he asked. "For now, yes. You're leaving because of a form." "I'm leaving because you keep calling it a form." He swallowed. I didn't sleep with a form. I froze. It was the first time either of us had said anything close to the real thing underneath the paperwork. "I didn't ask if you slept with a form," I said. He looked at the floor. "It wasn't supposed to get this far. There are sentences that are vague but complete. That was one. It told me there was a this. It told me something had gone far. It told me the problem was not that I misunderstood the record. The problem was that the record had caught up to a truth he never meant to let reach me. I asked the only question that mattered then. Why didn't you remove her when I asked? He sat on the edge of the bed, not close enough to touch me. Because she would have known. There it was. Not because the clinic was wrong. Not because the record meant nothing. Because Rebecca would have known. So she knew she was on it. He did not say yes. He did not need to. I zipped the bag and told him I was going to my sister's. I told him not to send his mother after me. She's just trying to help, he said. No, I said. She's trying to protect the version of you she can still defend. His mother texted before I reached my sister's house. She said I had humiliated my husband and taken the dog like property. For once, I did not send a careful paragraph. I sent a photo of the printed summary and one sentence. Do not contact me about my marriage again. Over the next few days, my husband sent messages that almost sounded like apologies if I did not read closely. He said he never meant to hurt me. Rebecca had been there when he felt he could not talk to me. The dog thing was never meant to look the way it looked. How it looked. That phrase told me he still did not understand, or did not want to. It did not look like betrayal. It was betrayal. He had given another woman a practical role in the life I thought we were sharing. Hidden it from me. Let his mother shame me for noticing. And panicked only when a neutral system made the hidden part visible. When he asked to talk without documents between us, I said no. The documents are why I'm no longer confused. A week later, I updated my own emergency contacts. I removed his name where it no longer belonged and added my sister. No one saw it. No one clapped. But when I clicked save, I cried. Because households are not just addresses. They are the people you trust to be called when something goes wrong. The people who tell the truth when a record is uncomfortable. The people who do not make you compete with a secret version of your own life. I still do not know every detail about him and Rebecca. I know enough. She was not just a coworker who recommended a harness. His mother knew enough to defend the lie before she knew what proof I had. My husband was more afraid of Rebecca finding out she had been removed than of me finding out she had been added. I did not need a louder confession. I needed one record that could not be talked over. The strangest part was not seeing her name on the microchip. It was realizing my marriage had made room for her long before anyone said it out loud.